Hi guys, I'm Andrew from EDG Architecture, and today I just wanted to touch on architects' fees and the way that we calculate ours. The reason for this, we got lambasted earlier this week for being too cheap. Basically, we made the other guys look bad, and this just came down to the way that we price things and the way that we've always done things. Which, in very simple terms, there's three ways that architects charge their fees. You've got percentage-based fees, which is the traditional way, fixed fees or a lump sum, and an hourly rate. We do everything as a fixed fee, and the reason for this is I generally don't like percentage-based fees. I think they offer very little cost certainty, and you can end up with top-up fees later in the process, which can be unexpected, unwelcome. They've never really sat well with me, and we just decided from day one when we set up that we weren't going to do it as a percentage. So I'm just going to talk you through the way that we do things. If we look at a percentage-based fee, in Harrogate, the total percentage for a build project tends to be around 10%, and that's typically broken down as 3% for up to planning, 4% for building regs, and then another 3% when the project's on site, known as contract administration. The way that tends to be calculated, it's a little bit finger in the air, but typically we work out the square meterage for the ground floor, the first floor, and any internal alterations. We then multiply that out by a typical rate for that type of work, and then that lands us at a total build cost as an estimate. Now, those rates are ex VAT, so there would be VAT on top of that, but the architect's fees would always be calculated ex VAT. So then if we looked at that, factoring in these percentages above, that means that up to planning you're paying something like £4,500, building regs you're roughly 6, contract admin you're 4.5 again, so you're somewhere in the region of 15.5 grand there, which rings true as 10% of the build cost. But then what happens when the build cost actually comes in at 185, for example, after you've put it out to tender, which, as we said before, it's not uncommon for the build cost to come in slightly higher. What then happens is, the architect's fees then end up as the same percentage of a higher figure, which means that your actual bill from the architect comes in at 18.5 grand instead of 15 grand. And suddenly that architect's coming back at you for another 3.5 grand's worth of fees for work that they've already done on a project that's come in over budget. And that's the part that has never ever sat well with me. And just to top that off, what's then going to happen is they're going to say to you, well, okay, you can either find the money or we can redesign it to be something smaller, and here's our cost for the redesign. And at that point you would then probably get hit with another lump sum of X amount to redesign it as something smaller. But that's the bit that doesn't sit well with me, that extra 3 and a bit grand of additional fees for the work that's already been completed, plus then the addition to redesign it. So what we decided from the day we set up the company was we weren't going to operate this way. We were going to do it differently, and the way we do that is just by doing everything as a lump sum fixed fee. If I looked at this as a comparison and the way we work on it, it's the time that we estimate it's going to take multiplied by an hourly rate that includes our profits and overheads. So we know we've got a baseline of X amount plus our 20% margin gives us this amount per hour that we need to charge. And if I break this down into a project of a similar scale, we've just done one on Mallinson Oval in Harrogate, which ended up virtually that exact same build cost. So the survey time, if you said it's 2 people, half an hour there and back, you're about an hour's worth of time. You measured survey time for 2 people. Let's say it takes you 2 hours in the property to go around, do a full measure up the externals as well, and pick up the boundaries, things like that, and any change in level. You're probably 2 hours for 2 people, so 4 hours in total there. And then for one person to draw up existing plans and elevations, you're about a day and a half, somewhere in that sort of region. When you then go through your concept proposals, you spend a bit of time working them up as drafts, and then we have a review in the office, and then back and forth. We then develop that into one design with the client, and then we produce the final design, location plan, site plan, and all the application documents. And you're somewhere in the region of 50 odd hours, which, multiply that out by your £85 an hour, means you're roughly 4,400 quid, which, if you compare that to 4,600, it's not a huge saving, but that is a fixed sum where, the other one's got a little bit of insecurity in the cost. If we then moved on to building regs and tender, this is very much the technical design stage, so this is a lot of input from us and a fair bit less from the client. The bits we need from the client are things like floor finishes, socket finishes, whether it's plastic or chrome, whether they want all the walls painted or there's paneling going on, whatever it happens to be. That's the input we need from the client at this stage, but the rest of it is down to the technical detail, and we always do things as large-scale detail sheets, fully worked out sections and elevations that incorporate the structural engineer's design, and we try and give everything that we need as a construction pack. And this is where I got pulled up by another architect recently, whereby we given a price to do a full construction pack, including all of these details, fully worked out technical sections, all the rest of it, drainage layouts, the works, and our fee came in lower than their fee to do a basic building regs pack that was the bare minimum to get it through building regs. So, when the client asked for an example of each and the other guy provided 5 sheets and we provided 21, it suddenly became apparent that our value was a heck of a lot better than theirs. And the client from that point just said it was a no-brainer to go with us. So we do provide a lot of information at this stage, and we've been told it's a lot more than other architects provide. A lot of builders absolutely love it because if it's not on the drawing, they don't price for it, and it saves those awkward arguments later down the line. Total add up, again, it's a similar fee to planning. We always find this, that the fee up to planning is largely the same as the fee for building regs. And the last part is actually managing the build when it's on site. Again, we're slightly different to most architects. So most architects like to manage the project themselves. They like to be very hands-on with doing the valuations of the project, with negotiating any disputes between builder and client, and just managing it from start to finish, really. We look at that as a little bit of a folly, really. A quantity surveyor is qualified and trained in undertaking valuations. They're specialists in doing contract administration and negotiation and arbitration, mediation between the builder and the client. We're specialised in design. So what we do differently is we recommend that the client employs a quantity surveyor to do the contract administration, and then employs us on a more ad hoc basis to do technical advice, which typically we say the technical advice, if you allow a couple of hours per month and then maybe allow a fixed fee for one visit per fortnight or per month, whatever it is, you'll get a much better service from us. And typically contractors, we have a working relationship with contractors. A QS has more of a professional relationship, whereby if they get called out, if the builder gets called out by the QS, they take it a little bit more seriously. So we have to maintain that relationship, because we're going to be working with them on these details and telling them how to build it, and it's a little bit easier for the QS to push back. So when you look at all of that for those stages and the relative costs, that would bring us in at about 12.5 grand for that project, which is roughly 6.8%. If I compare that to the 10%, you've saved 3% of 185 grand, which you're 5 grand difference in fees. If we took that 12.6 versus 15.3, you're just shy of, sorry, not 15.3, 18.5. You're just shy of well, just shy of £6,000 actually difference in price there. So yeah, the fixed fee model does work reasonably well. We've survived as a business using this model for 5 years now, and yeah, we've done all right as a result of it, and we don't feel like we've screwed over any of our clients in terms of cost or exploited them for fees at any point. What clients have to be aware of is that if there are changes or if things have to be redesigned, then yes, there is going to be a cost to that, and that applies regardless of who's doing the work or what fee system they're on. So it's incredibly important to get that fixed from the start, what your brief is and what the scope is, and employ the professional advice like a QS early on, and that will save you money in the long run. And a lot of clients don't seem to understand that, but yeah, that's it from us. I mean, the other option we've got down there is an hourly rate, which typically an hourly rate is open-ended. We stay away from it because we just don't know how we can offer any cost certainty to a client on that one. Any questions, feel free to give me a call. I'm happy to chat this through with anybody, and yeah, fingers crossed we can help some people. Thanks.